right. So, welcome for the first talk after the break. Here with me I have Geri joining us from Sofia, SAP colleague, Oliver right here from Waldorf, and Martin Fischer from Neptune Software. And they will be talking about UI5's ever-evolving accessibility. To make this session more accessible, if you have any questions during the talk, please feel free to reach out directly. They will be answering questions right away. And at the end, we will have 5 minutes of Q&A on top of that. So that's it. So stage is yours. Please, a round of applause.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm going to kickstart the session. And first, before showing you the agenda, how many of you have heard about accessibility, anything about accessibility? Oh, okay, so far so good. So, and how many of you have been on a session about accessibility regarding UI5? Okay, so in our agenda, we are going to start with accessibility at SAP. We are going to do a quick review. What does that mean? We are going to go through UI5 accessibility. What does that mean? And after that, we are going to show you our framework level accessibility and our application level accessibility, which will be showcased by Martin, and how a real life partner uses our APIs to make their applications accessible. This is really exciting because beforehand it hasn't done any kind of session for this, combining a partner and actually UI5 accessibility experts. And we have prepared a couple of key takeaways, hoping that you take with yourselves. Let's get right into it. What does accessibility mean for SAP? What is accessibility? Accessibility is the opportunity for everybody to use any kind of application without the use of context, without the use of efficiency, without the use of functionality, and without the use of content. And for how do we ensure that in SAP? We ensure that by following accessibility standards based on Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. That's an abbreviation for WCAG. How many of you know what WCAG means? Oh, okay. So WCAG is a set of internationally standardized standards that for web content that make your application accessible. For example, every such a standard is that everything should be reachable via keyboard. And we also follow the Accessible Rich Internet Application Standard, ARIA. How many of you know what ARIA is? Okay. Good. For those of you who haven't heard it, ARIA is a set of HTML attributes that make your application accessible also for your users, but mainly for assistive technologies, because that's how different assistive technologies understand your web page via these HTML attributes. They read the HTML and understand the attributes themselves. We also have design and development guidelines. We have prepared cool documentation for you. We have QR codes that you can take a picture of during the presentation and read them later, because we are going to go through it quickly. Also, we are based on customer feedback. We appreciate feedback for everything that we do. It's good when people test us and share their experience with our frameworks. And also, we are testing with the latest assistive technology tools and for the latest standards, of course. And now, going into UI5 accessibility, since this is UI5Con, I'm going to talk about the accessibility in UI5 and how we provide it. We provide our accessibility at 2 levels. Today, Nikolai showed this exact picture, but I'm going to emphasize on it because it's really important. For UI5, we provide, first of all, framework level support in accessibility. And afterwards, we need support from the app developers to achieve application level accessibility because the framework does not understand the business logic of the application, which is absolutely normal. And from that point of view, we need the input of the app developers to achieve an accessible application. And now I'm going to tell you a quick recap what actually UI5 provides in regards to framework accessibility. Here we have a documentation that you can read the full list and the full list of features we provide. And first of all, in regards to visualization, we have teams that provide the minimum contrast ratio that we need in regarding to different standards. We have consistency of icons provided via the icon libraries. We have keyboard focused visualization provided again by the teams. We have also layout and adaptation in different devices, meaning everything that you can access on your desktop, you can also access it on your mobile, maybe several taps away, but you can access it. Next category is keyboard support, which is very important, as I mentioned, in the WCAG standard. Keyboard navigation and control interaction are accessible via keyboard, and tap order of controls, meaning if you're using left to right language or right to left language, the tap order, the reading order of your language is supported via the UI5 frameworks. And messaging patterns. Everything is better when you use something and everything is in the same place. That is secured by our guidelines and by our framework. When you have a busy state, it's always visualized the same way, in the same place. When you have error, you see the error icon the same way. When you have notifications, they look the same way, accepting the notification, rejecting the notification. That is consistency, that is better for the user when they expect where everything is going to be. And last but not least, screen reader support. Screen reader support is added via the ARIA standard. And from framework part, we are adding a lot of ARIA attributes out of the box for the users. And we need a little bit of help from app developers just to fill in the gaps where the business logic has to be applied. Okay? And now, this exciting next part is for Oliver. Nico, I already shared, but he's going to do it for this round. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi also from me, and welcome to UI5. I hope you're having a great time. We announced already in the keynote, but we also want to repeat it here as an important milestone that we, as of SAP UI5 version 1.136 and UI5 Web Components 2.9, we are embracing the WCAG 2.2 standard and ARIA 1.2 standard. I didn't see before how many of you raised hands that you have any knowledge of these standards. So therefore we'll have to spend the next couple of hours explaining the basics. No, I'm just kidding. We'll go with some real-life examples of how accessibility is properly done in, on framework side and on application side. The examples are really basic for everybody to understand, and I hope there is also interesting information for even more advanced UI5 developers and accessibility experts. With regards to WCAG 2.2, we implemented some changes with regards to alternatives for dragging, then target size, and color and contrast settings. Initially, we did a lot of research when it comes to alternatives for dragging, whether the operating systems that we are using in our everyday lives already have something implemented, basically the desktop operating systems have on-screen keyboards, as well as the click lock or drag lock on the touch devices. They're called differently, hold and drag or assistive touch. But the point of all of them is that the user is able to enable this option, then click and hold on a draggable element on the screen, and then just do the dragging without having to hold the button pressed. There is also, here on the list, there is this pointer control via face, which sounds interesting, but I haven't tried it myself. Feel free to explore. Here we have one example with the UI5 tab container, where basically we are showing how this feature can be enabled in the operating system, in this case in macOS, and then can be used to easily drag a tab within a tab container. This is another example of accessible alternative for dragging, which is implemented in the web components range slider. So basically, we have editable tooltips where the user can click and edit the value. And of course, it's also possible to click outside of the range that is selected to do the value adjustment. Following are a couple of examples with table control. So basically, we provided accessible alternative for column resizing. Column resizing is a feature that is available both in the grid and the responsive table. And we offer the possibility via the quick resize action to do the resizing via the column menu. Basically, when the column menu is open, the user can, just by clicking on the step input, can adjust the value of the width in pixels. Then we have, in this example, we have a resizer control that can be used in the interactive row mode of the grid table, and to basically adjust the number of visible rows in the table. And for this use case, we covered it with the context menu. Then another alternative for dragging is to use the personalization dialog in the MDC and Smart table that is available out of the box for moving a column to a different location, to a different position in the table. And this feature has to be in standalone responsive and grid tables, can be used only if implemented on application side. So to some extent, we can provide accessible controls, but some things have to also be done on application side. When it comes to target size, we ensure that the clickable target area of every control is at least 24 pixels, and applications on their side have to ensure that that clickable target areas of different controls don't overlap each other, like it's shown in the second case. Then we did we basically scanned the whole framework to find out other use cases where we can improve and be compliant with the target size rule. And one other use case is we had to increase the target size of the slider and the target size of the dialog resizer handle. When it comes to link-like controls, there are three possible use cases. One of them is when the link is used within a text, in which case the height of the clickable area is defined by the line height of the text itself, and applications don't have to do anything. Then there is another use case when the link-like control is placed inside an active element. For example, in this case, it's placed inside a list item that is also selectable. So with this, we provide API on both in the UI5 controls and the web components. We provide API to basically increase the clickable area, and through that avoid users clicking by mistake on the item and triggering the selection instead. Then the third example, the third use case is when the applications use multiple clickable controls within an overflow toolbar or some other control, then they have to make sure to use the API to provide proper spacing. With regards to color and contrast settings, the UI5 teams provide a minimum contrast ratio out of the box, and on application side, it's always good to provide. It's a recommendation to provide auto theme that automatically synchronizes with the selected theme in the operating system, so that basically the user don't have to do anything. Here we have an example of implementation, how this can be done in the web components table. I don't know if the code is readable from the back, but we have here also the QR code that links to the documentation, and the code is pretty simple to implement.
Okay.
Please take over again.
Yes, thank you, Oliver. So Oliver showed you the flashy stuff in regards to WCAG. Now I'm going to show you two examples for ARIA, since, as I told you already, ARIA is a standard regarding HTML elements and attributes. And with the update to ARIA 1.2, there were two different kinds of updates of the ARIA standard from 1.1 to 1.2. The first update was regarding new attributes with new features, and the second type of the update was already existing attributes changed their rules. And we had to go through all of our code base in SAP UI5 and in the web components, check every attribute, is it compliant and is it backward compatible with the updated row rules. This was quite a task, but we tackled it. And for people using UI5, they migrate to the standard out of the box. And one example for updated HTML attribute, for not an updated but a new enhancement of the standard, is that ARIA expanded is supported for menu item checkbox and menu radio item. Meaning, when users are using some kind of assistive technology, now they will know that the menu item will open another menu from itself. As you can see in the picture, here we have a menu that opens another, a menu items open another menu, and we have highlighted actually where the magic happens. It happens in the HTML. We have a row menu, and when we have a row menu item, we have added the needed attribute, which is ARIA expanded true. And now for the bigger change in web components in SAP UI5 is that they deprecated the use of row group as a direct child to row list. Meaning, when everybody have seen the UI5 list with a group header, underneath in the HTML, beforehand, when we have a row list, we had a row group which was wrapping this group header and the list below the group header itself. But with the new change, the implementation was redone, so we have now a row list. The first child always should be a list item, it cannot be a group anymore. We changed the row of the list item, we have to change the nesting of the HTML for the below list, and this was done without anybody knowing, but the UI5 list is compliant with the new standard just because it's UI5. Okay, so next, since we updated you with the current standards, what we did for UI5 and what some app developers should look out for. We wanted to show you a new cool enhancement, and it's for the responsive table. And it is that now the responsive table has a row grid, meaning we updated the ARIA attribute, but with this we also were able to update the navigation from list navigation to cell-based navigation, meaning now you can go through each cell, and now we're going to go through each cell. There it is. We're going through each cell, and we can go, when we go through the cells, we can go inside the pop-in area of the table only using the keyboard, which is really cool, and it was a lot of effort, but it's really handy for the user when they use it. And with this, we are going to application level. What the application has to do to ensure a fully accessible. As I said, we support the framework, but some of the business logic, it has to be supported via the application. What does that mean? That when you're creating an application, every label that you create, every placeholder, every error message should be readable and understandable for all users. When you're creating an application, keep the label short and understandable. At the first glance, you should understand what you should do. And also labels, tooltips and placeholders, label input correctly, please set the tooltips, and also the placeholders are important because the input fields go inside our databases, and that's important information. Next, keyboard operation. As I said, we support the reading order and also the focus visualization that comes with the keyboard, but initial focus position, if we provide APIs for the developers, they can change the focus position to the most important part of their app. So that is important also for the users when they initially enter a page where the focus will land, and for people using assistive technology, what will they hear. So keep in mind that the next time you're developing. And also short structure for fast navigation and keyboard shortcuts. And as I said, we support most of the ARIA attributes. We provide them with the framework, but we have to rely also on the application to add them where they are needed and where we do not know what has to be added as alternative text. And also a really important part I want to enhance on are the landmarks. The page structures of every application is really important. We have really cool landmark API. It's in the demo kits, it's in the UI5 web components documentation, so read about it, use it, and your page will be better accessible for it. And with that, I'm going to give Martin a turn to share a real-life experience, and it's really exciting how customer consumes our accessibility. Thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, as already said in the introduction, I'm from Neptune Software, and I brought an example with me from one of our customers. But before we come to this, I want to just highlight how we built that in a sample app we built, what you just showed. So having labels next to the controls might look a bit strange if you're sometimes or used to the most fancy web apps ever, I would say. So sometimes you just drop it because of whatever visual designs and appearance reasons, but that's actually an issue if you want to create accessible apps. So therefore, it makes sense to have these labels there. You can even use invisible labels with an UI5, and also on the lower screenshot, you also see it really makes sense to maintain shortcuts, also to provide accessibility, and of course not only people with some handicap are benefiting of it. It makes your whole application in the end more usable. Here we also see an example from the best practice guide we provided for our customer, where we show how the ARIA attributes are used. We see a button and you can add a description there, which makes it easier for the screen reader in the end to tell the user what's actually happening if the button gets pressed. So now let's focus a bit more on the application layer. We already saw that there's a lot of in the framework, in the UI5 framework, and before we had that, I would say, customer asking for more support in the accessibility area. If somebody would have asked me about, are your apps accessible, I would have just answered yes, because we are using UI5. Which is actually only halfway true. UI5 puts everything on the menu, but you have to eat it on your own and select the stuff you need. So it's about the developers and the whole development team in the end to really care about the accessibility. And the whole development team needs to take the responsibility for this. It doesn't help if there's one single developer responsible for the accessibility. That will not solve the issue. You need to act as a team. You need to also involve your testers. You need to adapt your testing procedures because you also need to test the accessibility of your application in the end. And also, very important point, it's not that it's a one-time project. It must become a habit within your development team that you care about accessibility and that you make this as your standard. Now let's switch to the customer example I brought with me. DFÖ is the customer I'm talking about. It's a Norwegian public service organization. They are providing payment services to each of to every state employee in Norway. So they have a lot of users. 230,000. They are paying 90 billion Norwegian kronas a year to them, and they have also a lot of different agencies. On the picture you see Tina Johnson. She is responsible for all their IT and digitization projects, and I did an interview in preparation for this talk today because, it would have been a very big effort to bring her here. As they are public service organization, they need to provide even a report on a yearly basis on their accessibility efforts and how they are. So they are audited on accessibility, and that was a really big topic for them. So they become a customer, and as I said, we as Neptune say, we provide applications based on UI5, Open UI5 and Sub UI5. Of course, we meet the accessibility requirements you have. Very bold sales statement, I would say. And then they came back to us and asked, what and how do we need to do that? And then we started also to do some more research. There's also a great accessibility guide. I think it's called Fiori Accessibility Guide provided by SAP, which was our first reference. Based on that, we built an own best practice guide how to build accessible apps, and also provided a sample app where we showed how to use all these different accessibility features and how you maintain this. What DFÖ did, they started to test their apps regarding accessibility. For example, they used glasses like this. And you can also have a look at the SAP booth just next to the Neptune booth. By coincidence, the accessibility colleagues are also here. There you can do some blind testing, and they have even other glasses which are kind of simulating other disabilities of your eyes, where you can try out how this fields. This is what they actually did. And of course, they got a lot of findings. They also did keyboard-only tests with their applications. Also, I think that was more or less the test result was a nightmare, I would say. And over time, they started to create a library of UI5 components where they had in the end good experience with. So after the test, they adapted their applications, and then they started to create that component library where they said, okay, developers, if you use those components, we already know how to use them. This is the settings and the parameters you have to maintain, and feel free to use them, then you are on the safe side. What I also heard from them, with each new UI5 component, they also do some testing, and they literally always have some findings, but there's also a lot of improvement over time from the framework side. But it's really, I think, the important point here about the responsibility. This is on our example. There's on our application stack, I would say, and platform stack, there are things which need to be provided by the framework and by the tooling. This is tooling where you can maintain all the different attributes in our side. That's our app designer. There's a framework which already has this great support built in. And if you're buying some other UI5 components and applications from different partners, for example, as us, they also need to take care of the accessibility features, that everything is maintained. But in the end, for your own custom development, it's about your development team or your service partner, whatever, who needs to take care about this. Here are also some experiences and lessons learned from DFÖ. As usual, if you need to change things or introduce new habits to the development lifecycle of apps, the existing code base is the bigger challenge. So starting from scratch with new apps and apply accessibility guidelines is not the big thing, but your existing code base makes it harder. As I already said, they always also have a look on what's coming from SAP within UI5. They also realize with most components shipped, they have some findings in the beginning, but they also see always improvement in general. They are very happy with what they get from UI5. They are also having other UIs technology in their stack where they have where the experience is not as good as with UI5. And they also see that the developers and the whole team gets used to this accessibility. I like to call it habits, because I think it needs to become a habit for the developers to build these applications, and they are facing less challenges with it. What they also do is that they take the requirements for the accessibility already in the user stories. Also there, they see improvements over time. This component library is their lifesaver, I would say, in the end. Another topic which is also very important for them, that you have a unique UI design, like the Fiori design guideline, for example, because if the applications don't look the same, it's even harder for people who are relying on accessibility support to follow or to understand what the application is actually doing. And also one very interesting feedback was that they stopped doing prototypes in Figma, for example, because they realized that it's too flexible in the end, because they just yeah, they're thinking too open, which is, I think, in general a good thing if you do design, but that then they ended up with ideas which were hard to implement with UI5 in the end. And now they are using a tool provided from Neptune, which is a Neptune app builder, where you can do drag and drop screen design or UI design with UI5 components, but there are also other ways to do it. Yeah, but this was their experience, which makes it way faster now. And also, last word, I also repeat myself a bit there, but I think it's also important. They also mentioned and made it very clear, you are never done with the accessibility efforts you need to put in your apps.
Okay, thank you, Martin. So we are almost at the end of our session. Just a few key takeaways from our part. WCAG 2.2 and ARIA 1.2 already supported with UI5 and Web Components SAP UI5. Watch out for your target size. Core contrast default OS team support. Watch out for that in your apps also. Accessible applications are achieved, but through the combination of UI5 work in the framework and in the application. Martin already shared that, and for me today, his input is very valuable since we invest so much in accessibility, and I'm an accessibility expert for 8 years, Oliver is for 5, and we are really passionate about this, and we work very hard to achieve an accessible framework and hoping that people really use it. And with that, thank you very much, and we are open for Q&As. While you're thinking about your questions, we will really appreciate your feedback. And if you want more sessions like this on the next UI5 Con or something to be more, you want to hear more about, please leave it as a comment somewhere, and hopefully we will oblige. So, questions? Yes? Okay.
So first of all, thank you very much for the session. I think accessibility is a very important topic no one really likes.
Except us.
That's good. My question is about the application level, where the developer really has to take the accessible or use the tools to create an accessible application. What is about flexible programming model, Fiori elements, when you use building blocks? Is there everything working out of the box, especially when you add custom fields, custom sections? How do you add their tooltips? Is this working out of the box?
There should be a mechanism applied for adding the tooltips.
Okay. So there's also a documentation thing.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I think in Fiori elements, most of the stuff are covered out of the box.
But pretty sure in there.
The newest version.
For me, question is, in some cases we had applications, UI5 applications that were externally tested if they are conform with accessibility and WCAG and all this stuff. And there were some situations where they reported things like, for example, the table control that was using the on the left top side, so the switch functionality for select all. And then there was some comments on it, so that this is missing the corresponding ARIA role stuff, and so that this can be selected. And if someone is using the table control, that is not working. So what is the expected way if you have something like this, maybe to request and feature also that this can be controlled, or that someone can say this is okay because it corresponds to the WCAG 2.2 or whatever. So if you have cases where some external tests are saying that is something not following the WCAG guides in the needed case, or maybe something is missing, like you are not able to push down ARIA labels like to the input fields because there's a missing API for it in the control.
Well, usually with tickets there is a ticketing system and it can reach us and we digest, because just to make it clear, UI5 supports standards. Because sometimes people get confused what is actually an accessibility issue, and if there is a concern for one, it is good to go through the proper channels. There are centers of expertise, and if they decide, it will reach the framework, the technology, or whatever. But there are channels to contact.
Okay, so there's something special in this case, because if you have a look into the few elements of floor plans, you will see a lot of stuff that are very specialized for all the things that are possible with the landmarks and all this stuff. But if you start creating your own application or freestyling things, that you're even able to take care on this functionality, and in some cases, not all of these APIs are available for all controls. So if there is a specialized way to get in contact with you or the team for the accessibility part, besides tickets.
As you can contact us, we're going to leave our emails in the presentation afterwards. And for Fiori elements, I'm pretty sure they also have point of contact. I have to check.
Okay, thanks.
And I'm going to add some information for the presentation because I forgot to add our email, sorry.
All right, thank you. I think we got time for one more, if somebody has anything. If not, maybe do you have something for application developers who are in the same shoes as Martin is and who needs to get their app up to date according to the latest guidelines? Maybe a checklist
yes, we actually, we added through the presentation a couple of QR codes, and they're going to be really useful. After we're going to share the slides, we have what application site should take care for documentation, what framework provides, and also for the WCAG 2.2 and ARIA 1.2, we have a blog post. Sorry for the clicking. We have a blog post explaining more in depth because the information is a lot to digest, and we only try to tell you the highlights. Over here, there's a link to a blog post, and you have more detailed information that you can read. And if you're interested, we're going to leave our contact information. You can contact us. We'll be answering questions. As I said, it's really important, a topic for us, and we're invested. Thank you.
There is also a best practices application that
yes.
you can use for most common questions.
Their documentation and real-life examples. It's also linked over. No. It was linked. Here is a link to the best practice. This from the best practice app. You have code samples, how to implement, how to use APIs to achieve an accessible app.
All right.
Okay.
Then, thanks a lot for your talk.
Thank you.